Welcome to the Coffee Break Show. Today, we are going to rock your world. I have on the show with me Matt Bailey, and we are going to be talking about stuff that is going to be so critical to your life, your business, your message, everything that you're doing today. But first, as always, we got to hear the music. I'll see you in a few seconds. You're on the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. I'm Vickie Helm. Matt Bailey, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Vickie. It's great to be here. I've got my coffee, so we're ready to go.
All right. I got to tell you, I don't usually do this, but today I had to do it because people are like, what is he? So I am so excited because today my guest is a real digital marketer. Now, let me just give you a couple of highlights. Matt Bailey, he teaches digital marketing to the world's biggest brands and at the most prestigious universities. So his clients, he's got like Microsoft and Google and Hilton and it's like Orange and Nationwide, P&G or Procter and Gamble, Disney and HP. These are just some of the few people that he's trained. So Matt's curriculum is also used at like Rutgers University, Purdue, Duke, the University of Florida, Full Sail. The biggest universities in the world are listening to this man talk about digital marketing. But listen to this. You want to know what Microsoft said about Matt? They said, Matt has an uncanny ability to simplify the complexity of digital marketing into concepts that are understandable, relatable, and ultimately doable. And guess what? We have him on the show today for the whole hour, and I am going to bleed him of all his knowledge. And I just want to ask first, Matt, you've such a big industry. So many people saying that they're digital marketers, most of them not. They're kind of wannabes or they're using it to sell their product. How did you get into it? Why did you get into it? And what do you hope to do with this industry? All three questions.
Wow. All right. Let's stack those up, Vickie, and get started. So, I would say, I'm probably one of the grandfathers of the SEO industry. I started about 96. I was in commercial real estate. Actually, so I graduated university with a degree in journalism. And what that gave me was a desire never to be in journalism. So I went into real estate, went into commercial real estate. And at that time, if you wanted to sell something, you had to take out a newspaper ad.
Yep.
I looked into full page color ads in Southern Living because I had a bed and breakfast to sell. I started building a website for all our commercial properties, and I did it in my basement. I did it at night. I bootstrapped the entire thing, but it was a learning experience. I had to learn how to program. I had to learn how
Yes,
to,
I remember those days.
we're creating GIFs, and I'm looking for the cheapest software there is, and all these things. Within about I think a couple of months, someone says, I went to look for Ohio real estate or Ohio commercial properties. He's like, you're in the rankings. You're all over the place. And so I went back and started looking at that time it was Yahoo and Alta Vista and some of the others. And I figured out, well, the reason why I'm ranking well is because I applied what I learned in journalism to how to lay out a web page. It was the same as laying out a newspaper. Headlines, subheading, putting keywords in that people would be attracted to. So that just launched into an agency, had a job opening. They were looking for someone who knew SEO. And this is like 1999. So I'm like, let's try the agency world. Let's do it. So I did that, worked with some brands for a couple of years. After a number of years, started my own agency. We just focused on marketing and conversion optimization. And during that time, I just kept being asked to speak and train and present to the point where I had to choose which way to go. And I chose training because I absolutely love my goal. From your question, my goal is to train the next generation of digital marketers so that they are fully equipped not just in the latest digital
Yes.
technology, but in the know-how, in the experience of what makes this work. What is it that persuades people? There is a human element that we can't forget about, and that's what I want to instill in the next generation.
That's so God, I love what you're saying right now because I think part of the messaging that we have misses the human element. We try to get through things through speed, and we learn trigger words or copy words and things and those things are fine as long as there's some level of authenticity or connection between you and who you're going to sell. I want to talk about for those people from a professional digital marketer. Give me a definition that everyone who's going to hire a digital marketer, what's the definition of a digital marketer? Because most people think, well, the digital marketer guy, that's the guy who makes my Facebook ads for me. That's my digital marketer. What is the industry? Tell us what that is.
Well, great timing on the question. So I just started a series on my podcast called 7 Skills That'll Never Go Out of Style. And I've applied
Nice.
that 7 digital marketing skills that will never go out of style. And the main focus of this is that everything like Facebook ads, everything like TikTok, everything, all that, those are all tactics.
That's right.
However, if you have a basic understanding of digital literacy, media literacy, you're a good copywriter. And by that, I mean you can persuade people to do something, click, move, open, whatever. If you can persuade someone to an action, analytics was something that I added into it of being able to look at a data table and understand what's happening. Evaluating interfaces, the user experience, and how to optimize for it. These are skills that will always be in demand.
Mm.
Now, the OMCP, the Online Marketing Certified Professional, they're a certification body of digital marketing competencies. They did a study of enroll, where do you spend your time? 50% of a digital marketing professional's time is spent researching, creating, presenting strategy, results, and also making making pitches for here's what we want to do. 50% of that time is spent presenting or researching. 10% or less is actually spent on the tactical execution,
Wow.
whatever channel. And so to define a digital marketer, someone who first knows marketing and they are a communicator. Then and this goes back to when I had my agency. I hired people who could communicate through writing, verbally, because they're going to be in front of clients and they need to understand those. And I'll teach them SEO. I'll teach them paid search. I'll teach them social media because those are easy. They're tactics. It's the ability to communicate is the core fundamental skill that I look for in a digital marketer.
Mm, mm, Did you guys hear that? I mean, to me, you should be taking notes today. Now, listen, if you're driving or you're listening to the podcast live, relax. Show notes will be there. All of the things that we have for him. In fact, I do not know why this isn't, but his scroll is now scrolling with us. He has got his websites there. We'll talk about that later. I want to jump into, Matt, you had so many interesting things that we can talk about. And I don't even know where to begin because there's so many good things. So I want to talk about on the digital marketing front. I want to go into the dark areas of digital marketing, like phishing scams and
Mhm.
fake news and those things that are, what would I call them? Manipulative marketing,
Yes.
those things. I want to go into those and I want to start with parents and kids and things like that because a lot of the there's ethical marketing and unethical marketing. That's what I'm going to call it for this
Mhm.
show. And the unethical marketing, a lot of it is targeted at kids. And a lot of it, I believe, is also entrainment. where they're trying to, get kids to already figure out where they're going to be in the future as to what they're going to be doing and saying.
Oh,
And what I want to know is, um, I just want to say we got people all over the world. Guljeet, thanks for being with us. India in the house. And so, but I want to take a look at what parents can do, how to develop discernment in your kids so they know the difference between a phishing scam or
yeah.
et cetera. So they're not manipulated by that.
hmm Okay. I'm going to be, I've made this statement before. People don't like it, but I think the past few months, and in fact, the past few years have shown it to be very true. Bringing an open internet into your home with unfettered access is like bringing a loaded gun. That is what is happening right now. If you bring the internet into a computer, you give a child a phone with unlimited access, you are handing them a loaded gun. We have seen what is happening. Now, I call this, the past 15 years has been one of the greatest social experiments performed on us.
Absolutely.
Giving us handheld computer devices with social media
Yep.
access and bandwidth, unlimited bandwidth to be able to do anything, to record anything, say anything, post anything. And
Yep.
we're seeing the results because what happened is we were given a tool with no instructions. And now we're seeing the results of having no instructions.
Yeah.
And so, parents, it starts with you. It starts with you. And this gets back to what I talked about in digital media. What does it mean? Number one, digital literacy and digital media literacy. So digital literacy is the ability to recognize these scams, to see when something comes across your email. Now, what do you do with it? Do you just delete it? Do you click on it? Please no. Educate yourself as to what is phishing. Then do not delete it. Show your children. This is what phishing looks like. Have those conversations. If you don't have the conversations with the kids, do not depend on the schools to have them. And I'm passionate about this. I have 4 daughters that I have raised, and we have gone through this. My oldest daughter wanted to be on Snapchat years ago. Right? And so we sat down. I said, let me tell you about Snapchat. Let me show you some of the court records that came out when they were suing each other. Do you know why Snapchat was invented? And I went through it, and of course, her reaction is like,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I gotta know, why was Snapchat invented?
Well, Snapchat was invented to give people the ability to upload pictures of themselves that would be deleted within a few seconds. Vickie, can you think of what that would be used for? Yeah, exactly. And in the court records, when the owners split and sued each other, that was the primary purpose, was accumulating photos of young women who took pictures of themselves, thinking they were uploading pictures to a server where those pictures would be deleted, and they were not. That server eventually got hacked. And so here's the thing. Social media sites are not there for you.
That's right.
They are there to extract as much content, information, and data about you as possible.
Yes, this is so important what you're saying. Joe Rogan just did a podcast on where he talked about TikTok and the terms of service on TikTok, what they have access to by you downloading the app. And sometimes these things that people think are to serve them, it is the user that really gets hammered in the long term. And most parents are so unaware of these manipulations, is what I'm going to call them, as to how much data they have access to. And I think what you're saying is so important, because a child's sense of wanting to belong means being on the social aspect of it. And sometimes the lack of discernment in their case, as to what's happening in the long term, is exactly why it becomes dangerous.
Absolutely. And I'm amazed at parents that just give an iPad, an iPhone, or whatever to a child that does not have the ability to screen, to understand what's happening, and just filling their head with a lot of things. That's why I said
Yeah,
it
I
is
think it's
and
also
a
because
loaded gun.
parents don't know.
No.
Parents don't know what's going on either, and that's the whole thing. That's why I think, Matt, this conversation is so important.
Mhm.
So, when do you think is a reasonable, or maybe there should be, some sort of teen or young person class. I don't know who teaches it, but here's the things you need to know about these scams and things before you get your iPad. It's like,
Yeah.
here's all the rules, and now you get your driver's license, and
Right.
here's your
Right.
online license,
It's just as dangerous, and the
Yes.
schools are
Yeah.
starting to implement some digital literacy. They have to, because it's not happening at home, and usually it's because the parents aren't digitally literate.
That's
And
true.
so there's and so as a parent, not only do you have to become digitally literate, you have to model this. You have to model self-control. You have
Yes.
to model, we didn't let none of my girls had a phone until they were in an after school activity around 13 to 14 years old, because then we need to know when to go pick them up.
Yep.
That was our rule. That's how it happened. My oldest, she rolls her eyes. She's like, "Why do I have to have the dad that's in this industry?" She didn't appreciate it, and I asked her, I'm like, "Do you want me to talk to the other parents? I'll be happy to talk to the other parents and tell them what's going on." But no, you've got to educate yourself, and that's digital literacy. The other side of what you asked about was media literacy.
Yes.
Understanding what is now, how do we know it's fake news? Fake
Yes.
news makes me angry, makes me emotional, and it makes me want to lash out. That's fake news. In
Interesting.
journalism, we're taught that when you create a headline, the reader should be able to understand everything that is going to be in the article. I'm giving it away in order to show you here's the content that's here. A clickbait headline, fake news, clickbait, hides information. It gets to that curiosity inside of us that drives us. Oh, I have to know. Which stars or did this
Interesting.
and who did that, and you'll never guess. That is a clickbait headline that is designed to make you want to click on it. And the whole reason they want you to click on it is it makes them money. The more people that curiously click on a headline that loads a page that's full of ads, and those
That's right.
ads make that publisher money. And so, unfortunately, that back in the day, let's go back prior to the internet. If you wrote a good story as a journalist, it would get republished in other papers. It would
Ah, the good old days.
around. It would start in one newspaper and it would spread, and then it would get in a magazine or something. And so, good stories would rise to the top, and they would be in demand, and people would want to read them. And a newspaper or publication would monetize based on classifieds, sponsorships, things like that. But the
Mhm.
advertising was never in the article. The article itself did not monetize the paper. Fast forward to what we have today. If I write a sensational headline, if I write a salacious article that's full of ads, well, now I'm monetizing by how many people click and view that page.
That's
So
true.
now the incentive for publishers is to just simply get as many eyeballs on the page. Who cares how long? Who cares if they read? The more eyeballs I get there, the more money I make. And so the the
The
focus
hook
is not
is to
on,
get the
yeah,
click
it's
on
not
that
on creating,
ad,
yeah, it's not on
and
creating
it's no
quality
longer the
journalism.
truth.
Yeah.
It's really about this. I think is super important. I think this is so important right now because the amount of advertising that goes on right now. Now, I'm going to go old school, really old school. There were probably only 5 ways of doing ads before: magazine, newspaper, radio, TV, and there was a point where you could turn the stuff off.
Yes.
So, there was only a portion of your day that had ads in front of you.
Right.
Now, ads are in front of you 24/7. And
Mhm.
so the fight for your attention, because to a publisher that has advertising, That publisher makes their money by you clicking that ad, not by, and that is vastly different than the agenda for marketing in the old school way. And
Absolutely.
so to me, we're not, I want to be super clear here. We don't have marketing. We now have an assault of propaganda that is made for you to click buttons so somebody else can go ahead and get money. What you just said is so important, because now, as you're drifting through Google or whatever search engine you're using, YouTube, whatever, there is always the fight for that first place ad on that top three. Got to get to the first page. And I never click the ads up front. There's part of me that is like, the real data is below
Right.
this.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so now I want to talk about, gosh, I want to talk about how it is that we can find something that's genuine. And
Mhm.
in other words, I know that there's a lot of clickbait. I know clickbait out there. I know there's a lot of propaganda, is really what I call it. But there's also some really good pieces out there. And I think the journalistic piece of it, like for me, I think Medium is a pretty good place where journalists get together and they get that blog post out or that post out.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, what what sites do you think are reputable, if you will, for actually getting, especially news media, news site or a blog site? Like, do you have any idea of those things that you think are actually pretty good at sharing the news?
Yeah. Well, really, Vicky, the one criteria I use to start with is pay for it.
Mhm.
Pay. We've lost I think the sense of value of paying professional reporters to report the news.
Agreed.
I mean, you
Agreed.
look at how many newsrooms now are non-existent across the country,
Yeah.
especially local news is almost non-existent, but yet local is where you can make the biggest impact as a citizen. You can affect local elections. You can affect statewide,
True.
but yet look at the amount of reporting that's absent now because it's all been syndicated. It's all
Yep.
owned by a few companies. So pay for it. Pay for your local. Even though I've got, I can see the same article on three different local papers all the way. But you know what? If I pay for it, I'm investing locally. I want to know what's happening locally. And there are movements and journalistic movements around the country, independent outlets that are saying, we're going to try and make this work in this new media. Pay for it, invest, get that local reporting, put your money where your mouth is. To
Yeah.
the old expression, if you want to support good reporting, unbiased content, then pay for it. It's the only way it's going to happen.
I love this. And I want to talk about the content creators today, because I want to go a little bit now into the SEO of the conversation.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how does SEO play a thing, and how does SEO help you rise up in among the noise? And how often would you post, or how often do you have to create new content right now? I think that's the big deal, because
Yeah.
people are like,
Wow.
well, you got to create 8 to 100 pieces a day in order to be up top. But I want to create quality content. To me, if it's not quality, why bother?
Mhm. Great question. Because here's what we're fighting against, Vicky. All the algorithms
Yeah.
favor popularity.
Yes,
They don't favor accuracy. They don't
that's
favor
correct.
truth. They favor. So I can create, and we've all seen it. The crap that literally rises to the top and is fed to us and recommended. Look what this person posted, and you're like, how? Why do thousands of people like how?
Uh,
Um, because they're already popular. They're putting something else out that's popular, and that rides the algorithm. YouTube, they all run on this, and I'm forgetting the type of algorithm that it is, but it doesn't favor what's quality. quality
Yes.
gets washed away.
Yes.
Popularity is what rises. So, like you, Vickie, I am more focused on I'm going to publish quality. And you know what? I don't care about the algorithm. There was there was an old show I used to watch, and I don't. Some of the listeners may recognize it, called Mystery Science Theater. I used to watch this years ago, and it was a comedy. Sort of, they watch old movies and make comments. And they asked one of the editors, so one of the creators of the show, "Aren't you afraid that most people won't get your jokes?" And his response was, "The right people will." I'm like, "Yeah,
That's right.
I am not trying to get thousands or millions of people to follow me. I just want the right ones. And the ones that see my content and like it, then they get it. They are, I want to, same thing with networking. I want to be with people of the like mind, people who think
Yeah.
like I do and think more long term, think more relationally. That's who I'm going to get along with. And so people that find that content that I publish, they'll like it. So I'm not trying to hit everyone. I'm just trying to put out what I think is quality. So now from the SEO side of it, absolutely. I've been an SEO now for over 25 years. The foundation of it all is keywords. And if
Yeah.
I could teach on anything for a full week, it would be how to get the most out of keywords.
Wow.
And it's not just, here's the 5 words that people search on the most. No, it goes deeper than that. It gets into, I want to know around this whole subject, what words do people use? How do they use those words? What order do they put them in? What
Mhm.
problems are they describing? And I want to get into all the intent. For just a quick example, if I'm selling an Apple Watch, yeah, I can sell the watch as a brand. I can sell it as a concept. I can also sell it to people who are looking to get in shape. So it's thinking beyond the outside of what problems does it solve, and I'm going to research those, and then I'm going to organize them by these different topics. And so, number one, it helps me develop content that people want, that answers their questions. And so now it's part of my content creation. It also tells me the words people use, how they describe problems, how they arrange the words. I like seeing what words are typically preceding the main keyword, which words are typically after, what are the synonyms that are used. And so instead of just repeating the same word over and over, I'm
Yeah.
able to competently build a page of content that is actually readable. So, and that's the problem. SEO over the years has just been translated into this schlocky, just like any advertising or any marketing. It's got its schlocky side, and SEO has done that. But you find your quality content writers understand how to work these things in, how to make it conversational, and how to write it from a persuasive standpoint. And then it helps me know when the trends are. So if I know certain content is trending, I I can have it ready for the search engine. I can have it published ahead of time. I can also start that conversation on social media because I know it's starting to trend. So
Yeah.
I use keywords as a foundation for all of my digital and non-digital activities.
I think keywords are an interesting subject. Like, when I graduated college, I would have never thought ever that there was going to be an entire
Right.
dedicated thing to writing with keywords. But I actually sculpt the keywords before the article or the book comes out first, basically because I know that I want to be able to use them within there and not. And I think it also takes away from the creative process where you're having to fill it into keywords because now we're trying to talk to people through algorithms. We're not trying to talk to people through connection. We're trying to connect through an algorithm. The algorithm oftentimes has its own agenda. And because it has its own agenda, you're having to kind of circuitously have a conversation with the world. But I think it's so important now to understand keywords because no matter what, algorithms aren't going away.
Right.
So how then do you reach that? So I think that even my book writing, has developed around, okay, what's the keywords I'm going to use in the title first before and the subtitle? I'm keyword rich before I even put the book out. And I wonder what the next iteration of that is going to be in the future. But I think there's some fundamentals in the digital marketing space that a lot of, and I want to talk about your book, your, teaching new people old tricks. But I think that is important. There's some foundational pieces to digital marketing, just some foundational things. It's like digital marketing isn't just simply how many memes can I make right now, but it's the actual business of developing it's kind of like the writer now, even though you're a good journalist or a good whatever. To me, one of the skills that I learned wasn't just basic journalism. I suddenly went and learned copywriting, because copywriting helps a lot to mold that conversation with the keywords in it, etc. Now, to me, I don't know how to say this. I think the process of digital marketing is got some foundations that I don't think are ever going to change. They're the basics of those. And a lot of people that are in the industry right now are looking at the new hotshot something or other that's coming out, which is why shorts and reels and TikTok have gotten so fabulous, because that's the new hotshot thing where you make your little digital piece in 15 seconds to a minute, and then hopefully try to move somebody off of the short or the reel onto a site. And maybe, that's not the best way. I don't think it's the best way, but I want to know, what do you think are some of the foundational, maybe 3 or 4 foundational digital marketing tools that you don't think are going to change? They're just foundations. One,
Wow.
I think, would be keyword research,
Absolutely.
doing it
Absolutely.
absolutely clear. And then 3 more.
3 more would be just media itself. And I'm going back, and Vickie, you'll probably recognize this. The medium is the message.
Yes.
How your message is presented and the channel and the means through which it is presented affects the message. So, I once I learned that in university, I have, it was good to know. But then as soon as social media starts to explode, that's where that just comes back in my mind, that the medium is the message, that how people view your message, whether it's through an email or a YouTube video or on your website, they're going to extract different meaning from the same exact video because of the means through which it's presented. Great example here. When we look at what people trust television network news still
Yes.
as one of the
Still.
highest trust. Newspapers are right up there with high trust. Social media is one of the lowest. So I can have the same video on network news and the same video on Facebook, and people will extract different meaning from it because of the different trust levels. Also, people's attention spans are different. They have a longer attention span on YouTube than they do on Instagram, than they do on TikTok. So, and also, if I'm trying to put out a serious message, do I put it on TikTok? Because that's not really what it's known for. If I'm trying to build credibility and seriousness, that might be the right platform. So it's not a matter of chasing every single technology. It's a matter of knowing which channel assists my brand in communicating a message effectively to the audience that I want, enabling them to take action.
Brilliant.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking
that.
for the latest. I'm not looking for the
Yeah.
most. Again, where the people are, and then so keyword is one, but keyword's going to assist me in the development of what will be the right means of communicating it. Is it video? Is it podcast? Is it an infographic?
Yeah.
Is it a simple email or a text message? What's
Brilliant.
going to be the most effective? And so it's, how do I then take this message, this information, how do I transform it into what people want to see? So an understanding
Yes.
of the media itself, how you can develop it. one thing that I use as a case study, I've got from COVID, um, two videos, one from Cleveland Clinic and one from the Mayo Clinic about COVID-19 facts and fiction. Same video
Interesting.
length. And what's interesting is one group, they interview the doctors. Doctors are looking off camera. The lighting's not great. And they're just droning on. And I played that for a group. And then I played the other one. I think it was the Mayo Clinic one. They had animations. The doctors were looking right into
Yeah.
the camera. They had their text was listed right there, so you could read it as well as hear it.
Brilliant.
And no doctor spoke more than 20 seconds. And it was just, they were the same length of video, but the group said the one where they just talked off the camera felt like it was 3 times as long. And so we have the exact same content, but it was packaged differently with an understanding of how people learn, how they take in content. And so understanding that is going to be a key skill. It always has been. It always will be.
God, that is fantastic what you just said. It's unpacking a lot for me in this moment because I think um, looking at everybody looks at what's all the rage. And what the online digital marketer does is try to move you towards what's all the rage. And there's some interesting thing when you take a look at what's all the rage. It's where is your client's values? And people ask me, why do you write so many books? Okay, I'm about ready to release my 41st book
Wow.
because my client isn't on TikTok. My client isn't on Facebook. My client reads books. So in that nutshell, when he was saying where that kind of, how is that piece of social media used? How is that marketing potential? That is that where your client values that? If your client's values are on a different place, then no matter how many times you're on TikTok, it's not going to work. No matter how many times you're on YouTube, if your client doesn't watch YouTube, it doesn't matter how great your channel is, it's not going to be seen. And you want to have some discernment. It's like, I love, Matt, the thought that I don't have to use every single platform, because they're like, well, are you on LinkedIn? Are you on WhatsApp? Are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook? Are you on? How many videos are you making today? That's to me like just throwing the marketing out into the ocean and hoping to God that the grain of sand lands exactly where you want it to land. And the question is, that was brilliant what you just said, because I think it gives us, choices. Like for me, I underutilize LinkedIn. The reason I underutilized it for a long time is because I thought it was for people who are finding a job. And I was like, I think we don't understand the type of social media. We just think, well, the masses are all going over here, so I better go over there. Well, the masses are going over here, so I better go over here. And having that level of discernment, I think, is the reason why you have success as a digital marketer, while others don't. They're like, well, everybody's going to these shorts, so you better get on your shorts and do them. I'm like, I want to speak to a person, not a fad or all the rage. I want to speak to a person. So just
If I could jump in here real quick, Vickie, because what you're explaining, this is the liberating skill of analytics.
Love it.
Very early, not just was I creating sites, but I was creating it on my own time with my own money. One night I'm sitting there and I said, I've got 2 hours. What do I do? And the thought came to me like, well, what makes me the most money?
Mm-hmm.
What activity makes me the most money? And I couldn't answer that. So I went through, and that's what got me started on analytics. It's what got me started on CRM. Even before there was a software CRM, I'm spreadsheeting and tracking all my leads, what's going on and all this. Vickie, here's what I found after a year of putting in an analytics process. Number one, 90% of my leads were coming from search.
Wow.
However, none of those resulted in more than 5% of my sales.
Whoa.
Leads that I got from writing articles on other websites with links to
That's right.
mine. PR, links that I got from PR. Now that attributed to less than 4%, 5% of my traffic, but 90% of my sales.
Brilliant.
So now
Brilliant.
I sit down and I'm okay, where do I spend my time? PR. That's what I'm going to do because I got my best, most qualified leads from those links, not from people who were searching. Because, and here's the thing with keywords and understanding about marketing, they were early buying cycle.
Yeah.
I was getting people from PR who were mid to late stage decision cycle. I spent time with them and they were easier to close. So
Absolutely.
what analytics does is when I, Twitter, when Twitter was out, Facebook and MySpace and all these, I'm tracking what's happening. We're putting content out. We're distributing it and I'm watching to see what happens. And what I found is that consistently social media visitors, getting them from the platform to the site, I got a lot of page views, but none of
Yeah.
them would go beyond that page.
Yes.
And they were there for less than 3 seconds.
Yes.
So
That's why you write books. That's why
where am
you
I
write
going to spend
articles.
my time, Vickie? I'm going to spend it with the qualified people who
Yep.
come in mid-stage, ready
Mhm.
to do something. And that's what
This
gave
is
me the
so
freedom.
important. What you just said, Matt, I mean, right now, if you guys aren't taking notes, if you're driving, don't take notes. The notes will be there. But if you're not taking notes, this guy is dropping bombs here. And if you went to some place and spent $10,000, this is the kind of information we're sharing right now that they share at conferences and things like this. This is a discerning conversation about what real digital marketing is. And the reason I'm saying this is because Matt has just saved you thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. I know this because I made this mistake before I learned of dollars in errors going after something that is, hi, everybody's over here. So I got to go over here. Everybody's over here. Where's the value of your client? Where are they? And what he
Mhm.
just talked about, it's like, would you rather have 100 people that are going to be looky-loos or 10 people that absolutely are clicking that link because they want to do business with you? Which do you want? That
Yep.
is that simple. It's just that kind of discernment is where your marketing dollars can be actually used the best. Matt, I have to ask you because
Mhm.
I'm completely curious. Um, right now, there's podcasting, there's video, there's writing, there is, and I want to say blog writing and book writing. Um, the best ways for someone to increase their awareness starting out with their brand. What can they do? What do you think the
Wow.
best platforms are? And trust me, I know this because I'm doing it all right now. And I'm curious as to what. And by the way, I want everybody to notice this guy has a podcast, and we absolutely have tons of thing in common. But if you look at the back, you'll see that it says endless coffee cup.
Endless coffee cup. Yep.
That I mean, right away, doesn't he belong on the coffee break show? Well, of course. But I want to go back and ask that question with you and
Yeah.
talk about a little bit
Where to
about
start?
what, like what is that future?
Mhm.
Where do you think that's going? And what is the best consistent effort somebody can do?
Wow. Wow. Great
I know I'm
question.
trying. I told you I was going to pick your brain. You're
Yeah.
here.
Well, let me back up a little bit because what I want to say is when I was evaluating social media, I'll give a great example. I didn't see anything from Twitter. We've been investing in it. We were working on it for 2 years. I'm looking at the data. Now and so I stopped using Twitter.
Yeah.
Analytics gave me the freedom to say no. Now, is Twitter bad? No. For me and what I wanted, it was not the right tool. That's what I
Interesting.
want to get across. So, depending upon how you want to build that brand, what are you doing? See, I'm selling courses. I'm selling training, and you know what? Training doesn't translate into 120 characters.
It just doesn't, does
No,
it?
now, if you're trying to develop a
So
news
glad you're
source,
saying that.
yeah, if you're trying to develop a news source, example, like I gave some of these local news organizations that are, coming together, they're bootstrapping a startup of local news. Twitter's ideal. You're getting content out, you're getting it out fast, and it's
Snippet.
hashtagged for a local area. So it's what is it that you want to accomplish that will help you decide what's going to be good for you. And so, I see a lot of people forcing Facebook to work for them when if they were using YouTube, it would have been so much easier. Because YouTube is specific to what you're doing. It's better for video, whereas Facebook, the algorithm just doesn't work right for that. So I see a lot of people they're trying to make something, trying to force it in where it doesn't work. So, and that's the thing. I can't give a blanket statement about what's going to work best for everybody because and that's the beauty of this. You find what works for you, and also what you're comfortable doing. If if you hate making a daily video on Instagram, then don't do it. If your heart's not in it, but someone's telling you got to post every day for 60 days to build an audience, well, what's that going to do? What are you trying to do? And how's that going to happen? So, a lot of people have criticized me for being down on social media and saying it doesn't work. I'm like, I am not saying that. I am saying you need to use, as any good tradesman, the right tool for the right job. What do you want to accomplish? And
That's
some
key.
tools are better than others.
Yes, that's so key. I want to tell you this is so important because in the wave of the beginning of TikTok, a long time, everybody was jump on, Vickie, jump on, jump on, jump on. And I just, I am a professional speaker. I have 600 shows under my belt. And, I've spoken all over the world. I have years of professionalism in this. But when it came to TikTok and those shorts, I just could not relate to it. I was
Yeah.
working it, but the thing they kept telling us was do 1 to 3 a day. And I was like, 1 to 3 videos a day? Who's running my business? Who's doing all the other stuff that needs to be done in this company? If I'm making 1 to 3 TikToks a day, hi, it's me again. It's me again. It's me again. And they're like, the more you put up, the more. And I remember thinking to myself, this isn't working for me, and I actually don't have that time.
Mhm.
I use one platform that gets me broad range from
Yeah.
one action, and that thing to me, that makes sense. But if my audience was actually on TikTok, I would figure out something, maybe only one a day or something. But I think for me, the pen is still mightier than all of the social media. I think the pen is mightier than the sword. And social media used well, I will say that when I post something, if I have a post above the meme, those get the most action.
Mhm.
And those people who are writers, whether it's copywriting, book writing, whatever form of writing, I think there is a level of intelligence in the process of creating content that is written.
Mhm.
And I think that's also in video, if there's that storyboard piece of it as well, because you're
Yeah.
thinking about your client and how to serve them best. And I think the difference between real marketing is that there is a point where you have to decide whether you're trying to make 3 videos really fast because somebody advised you to, or you're actually trying to serve your client the best. So
Mhm.
I want to talk about the site logic and the learn dot site logic that you're teaching people.
Sure.
I want to talk about the way you educate companies and people. So listen, if you have a company right now and you're actually looking at digital marketing and you want to know what's doing the best or how to do that right, you definitely want to talk to Matt Bailey. Microsoft talks to Matt Bailey. Come on. So let's talk about where and how and what they can do to learn more from you.
Absolutely. Well, learn.site logic, and really what I'm doing is taking my own medicine because, as you alluded to, 3 posts a day on TikTok. Let me ask you, Vickie, who are you investing in when you do that?
Yeah.
Are you investing in your brand or TikTok's brand? Because what you're
Yeah.
doing and what millions of people are doing is they are creating something, they are creating value, and they're giving it to TikTok.
Yeah.
Same thing is happening on Instagram. Same thing's happening on YouTube. Millions of people are investing by their time, money, efforts, creativity, and they are giving it to social media.
Yep.
Now, because all these platforms are growing in terms of content, content is what keeps people on the site. And so what you are doing is giving them the content to grow their audience and to monetize. My voice is getting higher because this is so if you want to do something,
Passionate.
what you do is you build something that's yours.
Yeah.
Build something that's yours and use social media to build it. Don't look at social media by
Mm.
and of itself as a goal. Your goal is to build something that's yours.
Say more about that. Say more about the how you would
Mhm.
do that.
I would use social media the same way they use you. And that
Beautiful.
is, I'm going to pool as many people as possible from each platform to come to my site to do what I want them to do. I'm going to use it as a hook and come. And so learn to site logic is this is where I'm going to teach you. This is my teaching platform
Fantastic.
where I teach digital marketing certification. I teach analytics. I'm actually, and I just made the decision this week. All of my short courses that are less than an hour, I'm going to make them all free by the end of the week. So if you can
Wow.
register on the site on learn.sitelogic.com,
Nice.
all my short courses about local SEO, WordPress SEO, a couple other things, some analytics courses. They're all going to be free. It's going to be the big courses where I'm going to monetize, but it's all what I've learned from training the big brands. I'm
Yeah.
bringing it so it's accessible to anyone who just wants to learn, just maybe get certified. We could talk about the value of a certification in an industry that has very little definition.
Yes. More
But
regulation.
exactly. So that's what I'm doing at learn.sitelogic.com.
God, that was very generous of you. That's so generous of you. It's learn.site logic, logic, logic.com. I really want to say this before we get to the end of the show. I'm curious. Let's say I'm starting out right now. I'm starting out a new business and I'm starting out online on business. What's maybe 3 tips you can give somebody? And one of the tips that I'm going to give you is go work with this man. If you want more success at what you're doing, I don't know what he's charging. I do know this. I know that I have made so many online mistakes that have cost me thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, and I could keep going thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So the thing about that is you don't have to do it by yourself. You really want to work with somebody who's going to educate you. And
Mhm.
here's what I know. I have CEO'd several companies and I'm still doing that right now. So let me tell you something. This is one thing you have to know to lead your company forward. If you're going to learn a skill set, what skill sets do I need to have so I can lead a company really well? This is one major one. Why? Because if you don't know it, it's where you're going to lose the most money. It's where you're going to get sabotaged the biggest. And let me tell you, these kinds of mistakes can make you go belly up just like that because the advertising costs are up now. They're not going to go back down. They're not free. This is something that you absolutely have to have so that you can make these discerning decisions about how you're moving forward. So, if you're new and you're starting out right now, what are 3 tips and what would you say to somebody before we ended this show who's just starting out?
Wow, that is great. And you gave, I think, a very heartfelt, personal story that,
Yeah.
hey, because I didn't understand
Mm,
And that's a thing. And you talked about this before. There's so many people that call themselves digital marketers. I know people who are in SEO, and my only job is to get rankings. In my job, it's not my job if you sell more stuff. And I'm no,
yeah.
this is all a holistic view. And so, so for example, in my training, you're not just watching videos, you're getting assignments. And the
Yeah.
assignment is to go do keyword research that's relevant to your company. And then I'm going to review it. And I'm going to tell you where you need to focus, redo. And I don't give grades because we don't give grades in the professional realm. You get told to do it again. And that's what we're going to do. So just starting out, really, you need to educate yourself about this digital world, about what is the purpose and how should things be measured. If your goal is to sell stuff and that's how you make money, then any company you talk to, that is the bottom line. I don't care about how many rankings you got. I don't care how many visits. I don't
True.
care how many clicks. Did they make you money? That's the bottom line. And I don't care about, and part of my training is how to communicate data, because so many agencies, when you ask them, how's a campaign going? You get a data dump of like a 50-slide deck.
That's right.
And it's all charts
Right.
and graphs. No, what I want to know is, and here, because I clearly stated my objective. My objective was to sell seats, sell product, get registrations. What you give me should be a half a page. How many were sold? That's it. All the rest, I don't care. I'm paying you to do the analysis to know how to do more. What I want to know is how much have you sold? And so that's one way of, I would call it being agency literate, of here
I
what in my business.
want to talk about that for a moment because this is really important. I have an example of how that mistake happened for me. I released a book and I hired an agency to max out the delivery of my book. And they were like, well, you can get 3 million people here, up to 20 million people here. And I was like, well, let's start with the 3 million people. Let's just pay for that and see how that goes. And I kept waiting for the results. And they sent me the analytics, and the analytics was impressions. And I
Mhm.
said, this is great impressions. These are a lot of impressions. What countries are these impressions coming from? And they were like, oh, they're coming from countries like Denmark and India. And I was like, countries that don't read English. You sent my book out to countries that don't read English. And then you told me, look at all these impressions you got.
Mhm.
This is the point I'm telling you. So that was a complete waste of money.
Yeah.
And did they deliver on what they said they were going to deliver? Yes.
Oh,
Did we get any results? No.
yeah.
They delivered impressions. That's true. So you want to be careful about this. Is why you want to take his class. This is why you want to start this way. You will save yourself thousands and thousands of dollars. Where is the biggest chunk of a business's money go? R&D and advertising and marketing. Get it right. Get it right from
Mhm.
the start. Matt,
It's
this
it's not just marketing. This goes into operations. This goes into customer service. This goes in,
yes.
because when we're talking about selling online, this is the entire user experience. What do people experience from page to page, from checkout to
Yes.
registration to follow up to everything? It's beyond SEO. It's the entire visitor
Experience.
experience
Yes.
before the conversion and after the conversion. And now we're building loyalty. So this is not just marketing, it's the entire customer lifetime experience and how you can optimize that and increase the value of each of your customers.
I love this. I love what we've talked about. I got to tell you, every week I brag about having the best experts from around the world on the Coffee Break Show. And today, Matt actually really delivered so much value to you guys, so much value so that you can make better decisions in the world of in your business, in your marketing, in your digital marketing. We actually talked about what there is to digital marketing. You want to go visit him at sitelogic.com. You want to go purchase. Go to learn.sitelogic.com to go ahead and learn more with Matt, who is absolutely killing it. He's teaching at Duke and Purdue and all the big universities around. We have the best of the best on. Matt, I want to say thank you for being on the Coffee Break Show today. It has been such a stellar conversation. I appreciate you. So next week, we'll have another really great guest on. Until then, this has been the Coffee Break Show. See you guys later.